There he is. How's it
We
going?
got her done. We figured her
Yeah,
out. What's up?
yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. So glad you could do this today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So listen, congrats again. I know I just saw you after the fight. But you were so focused going into this one, and like you could just see it everywhere. It felt like you did exactly what you meant to do in that fight. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I would think so. I definitely thought that the fight was going to be a lot tougher than it was, and that's no
Mhm.
disrespect to
Yeah.
Garcia. I know how tough he is. I know how good of a fighter he is, and every single one of his losses could have been argued the other way for him, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So being able to go out there and really put a stamp on the performance and put a stamp on how much better I am than everybody else, I feel like, that have fought him before. I'm really happy with that performance, and I'm really happy with everything, with the way everything went on Saturday.
Cool. Yeah, and it's interesting because we were talking about it beforehand, and I mentioned it like when you were walking out, the whole thing with the odds, right? Because you were a big favorite, and it was kind of like, well, if you don't do anything but smash him, like, you were maybe going to not look great because you know how good he is, but the odds makers didn't really give him that credit. But that said, you kind of did do what, the odds makers thought you were going to do.
Yeah, and I one of the things in the back, I was really nervous for this fight, and it wasn't because I didn't think I was going to win. It wasn't
Mhm.
because I didn't think it wasn't going to go my way. It was just, I don't know how hard this is going to be. I
Yeah.
really think I'm going to win this fight. Very confident I was going to win this fight, but it was like, am I going to be super beat up the next day? Am I going to knock him out in 10 seconds? Like, I could see so many different routes happening. I could see me losing the first round and winning the second too. And so that was
Yeah.
kind of the reason why I was just like, man, just what direction is this fight going to go? And to point on the odds makers, I guess they were right. Like they made me that big of a favorite, and I guess I performed how I should perform. But I do think that's because I kept the mentality of, this is going to be a very difficult
That's
fight.
smart. I'm curious, with just the way you say that, like, how much do you do a lot of pre-fight visualization? What do you do to get ready? I mean, mentally, is that what you do? You sort of think worst case scenario and best case scenario, best all the time?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I used to watch an insane amount of film, and I do watch a lot of film still,
Yeah.
but I less film on my
Yeah.
opponents. So I get the fight, and I spend about 2 weeks of the camp watching film and kind of just planning how camp is going to go. And then I really just kind of don't watch anymore. I've seen what I need to see. I know what I need to do. I know what Army guillotines with. I'm pretty sure I know what to expect. I don't want to get too set into this fight going one particular way, because then if something crazy happens, I've got to be able to adjust on it. So if I don't have a set 100, I've got a game plan for sure, but if it's not in my mind that this is exactly how this fight's going to go, I feel like I can adapt a little bit better as the fights get closer.
Yeah, I think it's important to know a decent amount about maybe your opponent's tendencies and watch some film on it. But then otherwise, I would say let the coaches do some of that, because like you said, I've heard that from so many different fighters that all of a sudden they expected X, Y, and Z from this person because they'd studied so much tape on him. Then that person comes in totally different, and they're like, oh no, what to do? Because obviously you're getting better, you're changing things up, so is your opponent. So I think that's probably pretty smart to sort of know a little bit baseline and then have that for your own adaptability in the fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of fighters overanalyze.
Yeah.
We start, guys. Punches are punches and kicks are kicks, and most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, what you see is what you get. So
Yeah.
if you watched it 5 times, I don't think you need to watch that extra 20. Isn't going to make much of a difference. If anything, you're looking. You're going to look for stuff to try to find,
Yeah.
and you're see it with stuff that's not there. You're going to see stuff that's not there because you're trying to find more stuff. I think if you just look at it on the outside, he does this well, I do this well, this is our game plan, and we're going to adjust accordingly. I think that's a really good way to look at fighting, especially somebody as experienced as I am.
Yeah. Well, and also I want to get into, and I want to definitely get some questions from people as well. But we talked about the fact that your move to AT&T has been so good for you, and you said something that was so interesting to me. I thought that like, because you hear this from people, like, is it better to be a big fish to be a big fish in a smaller pond where there's more attention on you, or should you be a smaller fish, in a bigger pond? And I'm curious what that move to AT&T did for you overall, because you were the big fish, right? And then now you got in, and you're one of many in a really solid school.
Yeah, it's only good. I think it's different for everybody. ATT might not be the spot for an O&O guy, like somebody with zero experience. You're not going to get a whole lot of attention. You're going to be in a room full of killers, and there's not going to be as big of a learning curve in a room like that. So I think I started off perfectly, where it was like a small garage gym where I got all this attention and I got to really advance step by step. There wasn't huge jumps. It was step by step by step. So I was tiny gym with 3 people, moved to a bigger gym with like 10 people, moved to a bigger gym with 30 people, and now I'm in a room with, almost 100 people. So I think it's big fish, big pond, right? So you kind of got to grow with the pond. And I think that's really what I did. A lot of big fish, as you keep saying. And the nice thing about ATT is there's guys that are consistently there, and I don't really see myself getting better against them because you see each other every single day. But then there's guys that do their camps, and you can really see big jumps in your improvement because they weren't there the whole time. I have been here the whole time. You've come back. I used to do really bad with you. Now I do really good. I can see how much of I'm closing that gap, I should say.
Nice. It's great. I'm curious for you because Money Moicano, man, like this dude has emerged as like one of the funnest personalities in the game right now and stuff. Like, what's he like in the gym? Is he as wild as he is in fights?
Exactly what you see is what you get. Like there's no act, there's no fakeness with him. If he says he hates the French, he hates the French. If he says something, he absolutely 100% means it. And we didn't really get to see this from him when I first came to American Top Team. He wasn't doing crazy stuff. He was very humble on camera, and then in the back when it's just us boys, he's crazy, he's insane, and I'm like, dude, this is amazing, do this. And then he went out there and that son of a bitch did it.
Yeah. He's a riot. I really like talking to him. He's a lot of fun. And yeah, like he's just out there killing it and making it so that everybody wants to see him fight. So yeah, he's a lot of fun. I just want to see if we have some questions here, but I'm curious for you, when you talk about running into King Green, right? Like we were talking about that fight, and when people win or lose a war, they feel differently about it than they do when they lose something fast, right? So was it easier for you to sort of process what happened with Bobby because it was just sort of a flash, or is it more frustrating because you did all this work before and you didn't get to show it?
No, it's definitely less frustrating for me because look, I can't out tough my chin, right? Like if you catch me in the right spot, it wasn't a heart issue, it wasn't a cardio issue, it wasn't a preparation issue. He caught me. I literally, I was telling you Saturday night, I literally jumped forward because I was trying to throw a really powerful strike, and he slipped his head offline, caught me with a straight 2 right down the pipe, and he caught me. Like I can't argue that. It's all good. He didn't whoop my ass for 25 minutes. There was no like, oh my goodness, how do I come back from this type of fight? It was just he got me. Good for him. I zigged when I should have zagged. Let's move on. I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that if me and Bobby Green fought again, I would still be a pretty big favorite. Maybe not as big of a favorite, but I think that people would know that I would probably win the second time around. If they want to do that fight, I'm definitely for that fight. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm moving on to bigger and better, and it's in the past.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's the right mindset to have. And, I kind of feel like that's the game, right? On any night, it could have been, you could have been the hammer that night instead of it is what it is. But at the same time now, you have been known so much for your grappling, and everybody knows that that's something you really have to look out for. And then in this last fight on Saturday, you definitely seemed to show up more involved striking and everything. So how much has that been, important to you? Because, obviously it's mixed martial arts, but people have their strength, and having such a great weapon as the grappling is fantastic. But at the same time, you can tell that fans get excited when they see you throwing some stuff and landing some big kicks and punches.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you need to be well-rounded, but as the older I get, the more and more I believe that being a specialist is important, right? So if you go through the champions, other than maybe I would say John Jones, and other than maybe Ilia Topuria, you can kind of, this guy's a grappler, this guy's a striker, this guy does this. And their other side of their game just strengthens their specialty. So my striking, I'm probably never going to be a world-class kickboxer. I'm probably not going to be able to knock out some of these kickboxer guys that have been doing it their whole lives. But I can stay safe enough and set traps up enough to get you worried about the striking so that the takedown becomes easier. And I really think that's kind of where my game is going. I'm focusing less on becoming this crisp, shiny striker that moves the way he's supposed to and all this, and really just setting it up for, I'm going to get you thinking about something else, and that's what's going to set up my takedown.
That's really smart, and it actually kind of echoes what Jin Young Park was telling us before the fight with Brad Tavares, because, he was frustrated that the fight got postponed, but he was talking about having extra time, and he literally said that, yeah, same type of thing, like he'll use the striking to set up the takedowns and make him, he literally said, he was like, I'm going to make him play like rock, paper, scissors and not know where the entry is coming. And I feel like that's kind of a similar thing. It's like, yeah, we know where my bread and butter is, but like, let me kind of like razzle dazzle you and not make you think a little bit more about how it's coming.
Right. And if you look at the highest level guys, if you go through top 15 of any weight class, find me the guy that you're like, no, this dude is the whole package all the way around. All the stars, like you got Gamrot, he's a grappler. You got Fazeev, he's a striker. You got Benoit, he's a grappler, he's tough. They have their thing that they're good at, and everything else just like, what's the word? It like amplifies it. It makes it so that like, oh, I don't just have to sprawl. Like I have to watch out for things coming my way.
Yeah. So we had a real lively crowd, which was a lot of fun, and they especially loved the call out to L. So we got to talk about that. I was joking that like, too bad everybody didn't have quarters to throw. Like it would have been hilarious. It would have been dangerous too, but it would have been fun. What was her reaction to your mic call out on Saturday? That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, she's a tough cookie, and she's definitely got a great sense of humor. I think that's one of my favorite things. Well, obviously not my favorite thing, but one of my favorite things about her is how good her sense of humor is. She can really take a joke, and she knew marrying me that I was going to be a world champion someday, and she's going to have to deal with some creeps as it is. So she's got a good head on her shoulders, and I'm a very lucky man to have her.
Yeah, that's great. And it was really fun to see as well. With that in mind, then, so what is your, have you guys plotted out your path? Obviously, you're in the room with a lot of lightweights, right? And so you guys, I'm sure, as a group, maybe strategize, or maybe you don't, like who's doing what and this and that. But like, how have you plotted out your path to the title there? Because we have those that 9-fight win streak got you to that main event. Now you're back to 2 in a row again. So what kind of steps do you want to take?
Yeah, I mean, we've got plans. We've got a map. The problem is it changes every single Saturday because the landscape changes every single Saturday. I thought 100% for sure after this fight, I'm going to call out Matt Favola because he's going to get a big win in France, and that's going to be the fight that puts me back into the top 15. And then he got absolutely destroyed. And so it was kind of like, okay, well, now what do we do? And then I was going to call out Dariush. Dariush got booked the week before my fight, so I was like, I don't really have a real game plan of where to go. So you get these game plans, you get these paths, and then they change. So I know I'm probably going to get a phone call here in the next month or two about a next fight, and it's going to be somebody that I had no clue even existed or even was on my radar to possibly be fighting. I've told you before I would like to fight Jakar Close next. I've got 2 losses in my professional career, and Jakar has beat both of them. So I don't think that's really a way to erase those losses, but it's definitely a way to show that I've gotten a lot better since then.
Yeah, there's an MMA math equation in there somewhere that works. But I honestly really like the idea of you and Beneil. Damn.
Yeah, he's got a tough one coming up, so I can't say what it is.
Okay, but no, for like all the grappling geeks and stuff, but the fact is that you guys also can throw hands, so that would actually be a really fun fight. Wow, that actually would be fun. Yeah. Well, and folks, if you guys have questions, you should get them in here. But yeah, we'll have to hear about what's going on with Beneil. I've always been a fan of him, and like he's just fun. He's fun. Okay, so wait, looks like there's a question here. So this is from Leanne Diva Fitness. And it says, what was one of Grant's most memorable moments or / fights in your pro career?
I feel like every time I fight, there's a new moment added. But the one I got to go with is knocking out Leonardo Santos with 1 second left. I was ahead on the scorecards, but we weren't sure going into that fight. I had it 2-2. Excuse me, 2-1 for me by the end of it. But you had no clue. There was no way you could have said who was winning that fight, and to knock him out with literally 1 second left on the clock, get the bonus. That was an experience I'm probably never going to live again.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You can't go wrong with that. That is pretty awesome. It is curious to me. Do you because like you had to do a lot of time on the regional scene, right? Like a lot of people do, obviously, because you and Anthony Smith knew each other from like a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild, because I feel like I remember one of your fights. You were fighting. Who were you fighting? And like you guys were both from the regional scene. And I remember Anthony's like, shoot. He's like, I know this guy and I know that guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was Derek Minner. He got signed on short notice to fight me, and very, very dangerous dude. And I actually knew Derek from back before my second amateur fight. He cornered the guy that I was fighting, and then my third amateur fight, he was fighting on the same card as me. So it was just, I've known Derek for a very, very long time. I've known Anthony for a very long time. We've all fought cards as each other, and then we've passed each other in the UFC too. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, I remember that. Like Anthony being torn. He's like, I know both these dudes. They're both so tough. I've known them forever. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. So what are you going to do to like, I don't know that you're going to celebrate. I don't know what time you're taking off. Like, do you expect at this point now your next fight would maybe just be like sort of January, February?
I'm guessing that my next fight will be February, most likely. I would like to go sooner, but the hard part is my wife fights in December, and she makes so much sacrifice when I'm fighting that it's my turn to take a back seat and let her, help her get ready for her fight and all of the housely chores and all that kind of stuff so that she can get ready to compete. After that, I'm guessing January, February, most likely, and I'm hoping it's a top 15 guy or at least somebody that's going to put me back into the top 15.
Nice. And so where is she fighting? We may as well give her some love too. So where and when is her fight?
So they don't have a date exactly set up, right? But she's fighting in Tampa, Florida for Invicta.
Oh, nice.
It's either the first or second week of December. They haven't decided yet.
Okay. Yeah, because the second week of December, we have the UFC show in Tampa.
Right.
Which would be cool if it was the night before or something. Like that would actually be awesome if they could double that up. Ooh.
There you go. Look at you setting up cards. Here we go.
I mean, yeah, because they used to do that sometimes with Cage Warriors the night before. Yeah.
There you go.
That would actually be really fun. So add Joe number 9 saying, Grant, you versus Patty would be good. Would you, I mean, obviously Patty is a name that a lot of people call out, but what would you make of a matchup with him?
Yeah, I would fight Patty Pimblett. Yeah. The reason I haven't called him out is because I feel like everybody and their grandma wants to fight Patty Pimblett. So I kind of look like the asshole if you're the one calling him out now. I'm not trying to boost my name by fighting him. I'm just trying to fight. So if he wants to go, I'm definitely down to do it. I actually think that Patty's a lot better than the fighters think he is, but I think he's a lot worse than the fans think he is. So he's definitely in that mid area. And he's got a ranking, and he's got a win over a guy that beat me. I've got a win over a guy that beat him. So it makes sense, but I really don't know who it's going to be. That would make sense to me, and I'm going to end up fighting somebody I've never heard of before after that performance. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, there's a lot of options. At least you're in a great weight class, right? Like you have such a great weight class. It's kind of. There's a lot. I mean, obviously, I know you want the matchups to take you up the ladder, but like, there's just a lot of matchups that a lot of the fans would love to see. Like, there's no boring fights for you at lightweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then the nice thing about that too is you can beat somebody that everybody knows is really, really good that isn't ranked, and that does a lot for you. It's because this weight class is so talent stacked. There's so many good guys in this weight class. Beating somebody outside the top 15 that is very highly recommended by the fans. Sometimes is even better than beating somebody in the actual top 15, and then depending on how you do it, we could see me ranked tomorrow after beating Rafa Garcia. I don't think so, but I don't think a lot of people would complain if you did see that.
No, and the rankings are a whole other thing anyway, right? Like They don't always make sense. And even, talking about Money Moicano, how he was, I actually love Dan Hooker, but his whole thing with, he was like, Dan's a turtle in a tree. And, like, how is he in the rankings this high? I actually love Dan. But like, yeah, the rankings are what they are, and they kind of matter. And then obviously we know sometimes they kind of don't, right? Because Khalil got a title shot at number 8 and he freaking threw down. It was an awesome fight, right? So it's like, you don't have to be the number 2, number 3 guy to put on a great fight for the title.
Yeah, I feel like the rankings really only matter when they want them to. You got RDA in there, and I'm a huge RDA fan, but he's made it very clear he's not fighting at 155 anymore. His next fight is scheduled against Jeff Neal at 170. He's said multiple interviews, I am not going back down to 155, and they still have him in there. The number 9 ranked lightweight in the world is fighting for the 145-pound belt 2 weeks from now, and ranked higher than the guy that he just beat at 155. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Get Max Holloway out of there. Get RDA out of there. Put me in there. Put Jakar Close in there. Put guys that are right on that cusp of being in the top 15 or have been in the top 15. Get us back in there. Let us get this number next to our name and let us start making a run for our titles.
Well, that's the thing, you bring up a good point. We always get to these changing of the guard moments, right? And it's like you start to see there's people still there that have been there a while, and it's sad, but we see these matchups, right, where the young eat the old, and that's what's going to happen. Is like they start doing that with the folks that have been there for a while, and that's how you get your turnover.
Yeah,
so
the problem with the way it's going right now is the young eat the old. But the way the rankings are set up right now, they only eat the old after the old have been beaten 15 times in a row. So it doesn't look good when a young guy like me beats somebody like RDA because he's already on a 4 or 5 fight losing streak. Just think about how much more impressive Moicano's win over Benoit would have been if Benoit hadn't lost to Dustin Poirier. Or like if that fight had just never happened, it would have been Moicano probably would have been ranked number 2 in the world right now. We talking about him fighting for a championship, but because he got knocked out by Dustin Poirier, now it's like, well, it's not that cool. We didn't realize how bad Benoit was.
Right. Yeah, that's not fair.
No, it's not, and it's a very bad way to run the rankings. And the rankings are a business too, and I feel like putting them in the hands of non-businessmen, that's a problem.
It is a problem. And to be completely honest with you, I was actually asked to be on that committee for the rankings a while back. And I said no, because I was like, look, I'm too close to the situation. Like, I can't, and as much as I would want to be objective, like, I can't promise you that sometimes I wouldn't be like, well, so deserves I was like, I'm just too close to the situation. I don't feel like I could always be objective. And so I said no. And so, I'm not putting the people down that are doing it, but some of the people that are doing it maybe really don't know a lot, or maybe too close to certain people, or this or that. Like, it's not a perfect system.
Yeah. And that's very grown up of you to say that. But at this point, I think we might need somebody that is a little bit closer.
Yeah.
It seems like these guys have no idea what they're doing. Like put me in front of the guys that said that Max Holloway, who just beat Justin Gaethje, should be ranked at number 9 in the lightweight division, while Gaethje is number 4 or 3 or whatever it is. And now also Max is fighting for a featherweight title. Like, let me sit in front of these guys and be like, explain that to me.
Right.
Go. I don't think any of them would be, oh, well, like, you don't get it, kid. It's like, get the I don't know. It frustrates me.
No, and I get it. And, with Max, they'll say former champ, schedule, all the stuff that he did accomplish. So I guess they will say
ranked ahead of Justin Gaethje, the guy he just beat.
Right. Dude, I hear you.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying, like, you could have saved our rankings, girl. What are you doing? You should have been on that committee.
I know. But honestly, I was just like, I felt like it's not fair. I'm too close. But you're right. Like, I feel like at the same time, that closeness, that proximity would maybe, make me have more educated choices. So it's tough.
To be honest too, because like, you have to be in front of the guys that didn't get ranked on Monday. You've got to be able to explain it to them. Like, I didn't. Whereas these guys, nobody knows. I don't, at least. I have no clue what any of these guys look like.
Right. Well, right. Yeah, I'll be held accountable, and I'll back it up and everything. Yeah, I'd be able to, I think, at least back up my choices.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, all right. I want to let you just see if there's any more questions before we let you go here. But so, are you the type of guy who heads right back into the gym? Because what we've got, like, I don't know. Do you put in work with Pantoja and those guys too?
Yeah, I mean, I'll train with anybody and
Yeah.
everybody that's going to take care of me. I do want to get back in the gym as soon as possible. My buddy Dakota Bush is fighting in 3 weeks.
Hmm.
He's in his corner. We help each other through the fight camps. He's moved his whole family to American Top Team to
Nice.
be able to train full time. He's definitely put in the work. I think he's going to get back into the UFC very, very soon, this year, if not early next year. I want to get back in and help him. My knees are all banged up. My knees are all scraped up from that mat, and so it's hard to walk right now. But I should be good in a few days. As soon as I'm healthy to train, I'm going to jump back into the gym, get a schedule going, and hopefully get a schedule
Yeah.
set to where I can start looking for a fight again within the next couple of months after my beautiful wife gets her fight done.
Nice. Yeah, because, anyway, we always have kind of that break between, December and January is kind of slow. Usually there's just kind of one late event in January, and then, yeah, it picks up. So February sounds like it could be good. Well, yeah, look, congratulations, because that was awesome. And, it's win or learn, right? So the fight with King, you learned something there that day, and then you just got back to your winning ways.
Yeah, and that's all you can do is get back on the horse, right? You fall off,
Yeah.
get back up. You fall off, you get back up. There's guys. Can you imagine if Islam Makhachev gave up after he got knocked out by a guy that went on a 7-fight losing streak after beating him? Could you imagine all of the fights where Charles Oliveira could have said, you know what, I'm gonna listen to the haters. I'm gonna listen to the guys that say I'm a bitch, and I'm gonna be done. And we never
Hmm.
would. These great champions. There really aren't any undefeated champions anymore. I know there's Ilia Topuria. I know there's Khabib. There's always an exception to the rule, but I'm not an
Hmm.
exception to the rule. I'm gonna fall and I'm gonna get back up on the horse. I know eventually I'm gonna lose a fight that I thought I won, and I'm gonna win a fight that I lost. I don't care. I'm just gonna keep on moving forward to that belt, and I'm gonna keep doing this until me becoming a world champion is 100% gone.
All right. You just cut that promo. Well, so thank you for joining me today. It's always good to see you. And yeah, congrats. You were just like in top form. It looked like you were just so dialed in on Saturday, and it was just fun to watch. Like, it's just fun to watch when somebody comes in, says they're going to do something, executes it, and then it's just like, boom,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Thank you. I hope all my other fights go exactly like
I know,
that one,
right?
because that was a good early night. Round and a half in, I'm out. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to your beautiful wife, and yeah, hopefully we see you back in action in like February or so. But enjoy your well-deserved break, and hope your knees heal up quickly. Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks, Grant. Take it easy. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. See you later.